Good morning, Richard Nikoley here, and it's early, 6:30 here, but I just had to come up and do a video. I've been up since 1:30 in the morning after a few hours sleep, but I just couldn't sleep. You know, after kind of a false start with the AI thing, it's woke, it's worthless. Kind of making a lot of fun of it. And I looked more, and I'm like, nope, you're wrong. So, it's, the woke shit, easy to get around. And I'm not going to get into that. It's just not been a factor for me once I understood it. And at this point, I actually question whether its designers are particularly woke. I'm thinking it's more of a situation of, look, we have work to do and we don't want to create problems for ourselves. Smart people will know how to deal with this. Because the way the wokesters are, they're really a tiny percentage of the population, the ones who are ideologically fervent about it, and they will, for the slightest little thing, they will spend their whole day or their whole week, whatever. I mean, the true wokesters are really they're the inflamed hemorrhoids of the body politic. It's what they are, right? So it's a phase the world is going through, I think. Anyway, let's get down to business here. So I thought, well, I'm going to get in front of this AI, but how in front, I had no idea. It turns out that, just my past is, technical stuff. And being kind of my own database developer for my own applications, and eventually my own company, and eventually overseeing development of my own client management thing. And just to give you scale of that, I spent about $1 million in developing that for a pretty small company, 30 employees. Nobody does that. Spends $1 million on your own software because nothing else does it the way you want to do it, right? So, and that was over about 3 years or so. So it wasn't like, here's $1 million. Anyway, so I'm very well versed in databases, relational databases. Well, it turns out that to start getting into this AI and the ChatGPT and stuff, it doesn't use, it does use a relational database too, I assume, but the way it actually works and makes its decision are called vector databases. Now, you don't really need to understand any about that. You just need to understand that basically, relational, text-based relational databases are based on words, words and numbers, but like integer type numbers typically, and it can do calculations and stuff like that. It's tables with rows and columns, whereas a vector database, think of it as a way to organize and categorize algorithms, formulas, math stuff, probabilities, things like that. So anyway, my vector database that I'm using, Pinecone, now has almost 55,500 vectors in the database. So what I've done is I've thoroughly indexed my entire blog of 5,200-ish posts over 20 years into a vector database, and there's a piece running on the WordPress server that if in response to, like you say, hey, tell me about this and this, tell me about resistant starch or whatever, then that piece will go through the blog, that index, and say, okay, and it puts together a thing that then gets sent to ChatGPT for a response. And so the ChatGPT is using a portion from my blog, the content of my blog, and it's native, or what is it? Native learning language, the tons of stuff. And in fact, it actually has partial access to my blog in its own database by means of the web archive, or Wayback Machine. And I actually asked it, and it said it had about 3,700 posts. Its cutoff is September of 2021. So, but since then there's maybe 400 posts. So there's some missing somewhere in that web archive, but probably, when I ask it stuff about my blog, it really focuses in on the diet and nutrition. So it's very much attuned to all the paleo stuff, because there's thousands of posts. Probably at least half of the posts on the whole blog, if not more, are focused on the dietary stuff. So that makes sense in itself. So anyway, what I'm here to do is to announce that you can talk to my blog. And I got to go back. First I got to sleep, but then I got to draft a post. I'm going to open it to the public for a while. It cost me money. That's a whole other thing, but it's not much. And I set a budget. Let's put it, okay, let's talk a little bit of numbers here. So I don't know, I don't have an easy way to count all the words in the blog, but I got a pretty rough idea. If 5,200 posts, if each post is about an average of 1,000, there's lots of posts that are less than that, but not super many. But there's quite a number of posts that are 2, 3, 4, even 6,000. Right. So if you average out to 1,000 words per post, you're talking 5,200,000 words. Right. Now, I haven't yet tackled the comments. There's 105-ish thousand comments, and there's a lot of knowledge in the comments. So if you just figure an average of 100 words per comments, because some comments are a sentence or two, but some are like this long, right? So let's say it's 100 words, 110,000 comments. There's another 11 million words. So I have the potential of having a 15 million word database. Now, here's a question. How long is the Bible? It's about 800,000 words. And there's people who spend their whole lives on it. So this gives me, I think, an advantage in two ways, right? Not many blogs have that much content, right? Certainly there's news sites that do, and they would do very well at something like this, like say, set this loose on New York Times or something like that. I mean, it'd be great for them, right? But I'm not competing at that level anyway. I'm competing on, for attention, for people who like, the lone wolf kind of guy who says whatever he wants sort of thing. Well, what do I have there? Well, I have, like I said, 15 million words. And it's going to be, an AI enabled. So you be not like going in and searching and getting posts and like figuring out, say, hey, summarize this aspect of the blog for me. Boom, it does it. I've tested it. It's pretty good. The other thing is, just as an aside, what's cool about it kind of is that it's not just the blog. So it's unlike a blog search engine, right? It's just going to give you results from the blog. If you ask it a complex question, right, it's going to give you an answer that's partly from the blog and partly from its general knowledge, of anything. Just like if you went on and it's like going to the regular ChatGPT now but also being able to integrate questions from my content from my blog. So that. But for the other thing is, even for blogs with a lot of content, right? Almost everybody is niche, so it's one subject only, right? Whereas you can say, tell me about his religious views, or what did he say about this religion? What did he say about this philosophy? How about aviation? How about, all the cooking, right? Recipes. What he had a recipe for this and this, and so many things. Travel. Tell me about his Euro trip in 2006 and in 10 or 9. Where'd he go? Stuff like that. All sorts of stuff like that. So anyway, it's going to be, I'm going to give more details about it because there is limitations. I want you to understand the limitations. So you don't say it's like, oh God, there are some limitations. But what amazes me is that I have so much capability so early on all game, and I'm ahead of everybody. Really, it just amazes me, and how many people are like, oh, I don't want to hear about it. Well, to your own detriment, right? This is because here's the thing: in business, and the blog is a business for me. And so in business, if you're not looking at AI and how it's going to help your business, other people are. And part of that is going to be how to make you meaningless, irrelevant. So you better get off your ass. Okay, that's it.